तो हेलो एवरीवन इन द इंडियन एक्सप्रेस न्यूज़पेपर। तो यहाँ हम बहुत बार बात कर चुके हैं इसराइल के बारे में, सो विल टेक अ नेक्स्ट टॉपिक नाउ। So each blast seemed closer, siren wail and never stopped. Happy we are home. So the Prime Minister is having something on the terrorism. So the wailing siren, boom of distant bombing, Sim chat Torah last Saturday seemed to have begun on a slight unusual note for many Indian citizens in Israel. So again, every terror related news is somewhat around to basically these two countries. Number one, the Canada, and number second is Israel. So we can move ahead. So bringing people of India and Sri Lanka closer through waterways. So this is a very good initiative as far as the Bangladesh and India's relations are concerned. A ferry service
Sri
has been
Lanka.
started.
Yes, Sri Lanka and India.
Yeah, Sri Lanka and India at Nagapattinam port, which lies in Tamil Nadu. So from here, it will connect Sri Lanka and it will enhance the connectivity between the southern India and northern part of Sri Lanka. 8 से 10 घंटे का ये सफर रहेगा एंड इट 8 से 10 घंटे का ये सफर था जिसको 3 से 4 घंटे में कन्वर्ट कर दिया गया है एंड लो फेयर हायर बैगेज अलाउंस और 55 kg एज कम्पेयर टू 15 kg वाया एयर. So pilgrims, tourists, traders, students, and regular commuters. So these are the various commuters who will be definitely benefiting and directly benefiting from this new initiative which has been started by both the countries. The Global Maritime India Summit is also getting conducted in Mumbai, and it has the theme which is connect, collaborate, and create. It will force the business development, partnership, and creating opportunities where the obviously the public-private partnership is going to play a major role in the coming Global Maritime Summit. तो अगर हम मैरीटाइम की बात करें, मैरीटाइम हमारे यहाँ दो नजरियों से देखा जाता है. नंबर वन इज द ट्रेड एंड नंबर इज द security purpose. So in trade, we have various initiatives like export import policy, rationalization of the customs and clearances. Then in the security, we have various forces which have been deployed, like coast guards. We have then the issue comes of international sea line boundary, which extends from the coastline till 12 nautical miles in the nearby oceans. So both the things. Yes, Mansi, you were speaking something.
Yes, I was asking one question. What, according to you, are the maritime security challenges for India?
Well, number one, the maritime security challenges, I will frame that terrorism is obviously the organized crimes are fueling from international, countries flying in the oceanic sphere, and then we have infiltration which happens via the maritime region. Then illegal trade also happens, smuggling happens, trafficking happens. So all these are the basically organized and conventional crimes which are which are affecting this region particularly. And then we have some issues in the maritime sector as far as the passage of the ships, the naval ships of different defense forces of different countries, and the trading ships also. देन इनके फ्यूलिंग की बात है. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, अगर हम क्लाइमेट के नजरिए से देखें तो जो सी वेस्ट क्रिएट होता है बिकॉज ऑफ दिस मैरीटाइम कॉमेट, दैट इज आल्सो कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न. देन ऑयल स्पिलिंग जो हो जाती है कई बार बिकॉज ऑफ अगेन इस पैसेज वे की कारण. तो दीज आर सम कॉमन कंसर्न्स अकॉर्डिंग टू मी.
उसमें मैं दो चीजें ऐड करूंगी. एक तो ग्रोइंग प्रेजेंस ऑफ चाइना इन द इंडियन ओशन रीजन. इट इज बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू सेट अप इट्स ओन नेवल बेसेस इन द इंडियन नेबरहुड कंट्रीज. सेकंड इज इवन द चैलेंज व्हिच इज एमिनेटिंग फ्रॉम इंक्रीज नंबर ऑफ साइक्लोन्स. So that is also one of the maritime security challenge for us.
ओके. एंड सबसे बड़ा इसको हम एक अपॉर्चुनिटी के रूप में भी देख सकते हैं कि वेयर वी आर एक्सप्लोरिंग दी अंडर सी बेड फॉर वेरियस like for rice cultivation also, for scientific
Polymetallic
exploration
molecules and all of that also.
what
पॉलीमेटालिक नोड्यूल्स के लिए
Polymetallic nodules, obviously, yeah. So who are Delhi's, Mansi, can please come on this topic?
Okay.
Who are Delhi's migrant workers? So 70% are from Bihar and UP and earn under 20,000 rupees a month. So I remember that in this month only we were talking about that about something about Delhi. So in amidst of that debate we were talking that Delhi's own population is not that much, but the population is of migrants. So what we can see is that it is a study which is done by the Lok Niti, which is saying that Delhi's migrant workers comprise 70% of the Bihar and UP who are earning under rupees 20,000 rupees a month, which is not that big amount. So what UP and Bihar should do is just try to provide, you know, jobs, employment opportunities in those states also, so that their per capita state GDP can increase and overall development can happen, not the vertical development only. So in the abortion plea, the Supreme Court has asked from the AIMS, particularly for the fresh report on the conditions of the women coitus. And obviously, I would like to suggest one thing, that when we are talking about these issues, which are directly concerned with the woman, with the child, so we should also take the reports, not only of the medical authorities, but also of the National Commission for Women and Child Development, for Child Protection. I think these are the constitutional bodies, not just for the sake. These constitutional bodies should have a say, a very critical say in these kinds of matters, so as to prevent such kind of incidences where we are seeing a lot of abortions happening. And obviously, if we will, allow the abortion, so that is gonna, fill up our anath ashrams. So we can't actually go for that. तो एक मिड वे अप्रोच निकालनी चाहिए, और इस जो 3 मैंने कंडीशंस बताई हैं कि मतलब प्री मैरिटल अफेयर्स, जो लिव इन रिलेशंस होता है वहां पर जो मतलब इस तरीके की जो प्रेगनेंसी रिलेटेड इश्यूज आते हैं, मतलब वो बाद में अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी से भागने की जब कोशिश होती है बिकॉज ऑफ वेरियस फैक्टर्स. आई एम नॉट पॉइंटिंग आउट इंडिविजुअल फैक्टर्स लाइक सोसाइटल फैक्टर्स एंड लाइक ऑन द कास्ट बेसिस मैरिज नहीं हो पाती है, बाद में अलग अलग जो कंडीशंस आ जाती हैं उनकी वजह से नहीं हो पाती, बिकॉज ऑफ विच these kinds of states, the women and our young girls take. So on multiple steps, the National Commission for Women and Child Protection should come with a report and should try to bring the limelight on all these aspects, so that Supreme Court also feels a little light in dealing these cases. So Supreme Court refuses to interfere with the transfer of Armed Forces Tribunal member. So I think this is a conventional thing as well as a constitutional thing, that in the armed affairs, the normal judiciary, the civil judiciary is not allowed to intervene, and they actually take a step back so as to allow the commissions, the military commissions, to have their say and to have their judgments. The cost of dal roti. So we are talking about the food inflation, where we have to take a approach for balance the consumers and the producers' interest. अगर हम बात करते हैं कंज्यूमर प्राइस इन्फ्लेशन की, so that has fallen from 7.4 to 5%, or it has come on the back of retail food inflation registering in a sharper decline. Cereals में भी ये चीजें देखी जा रही है, वेजिटेबल्स में, फिर मिल्क में भी, and mostly in the fast moving consumer goods. Now, obviously, we are having the impacts of climate change, like El Nino is impacting, has not been as bad as it was feared by the agencies and the speculative reports. So if food inflation is not across the board, it calls for more nuanced approach from the government that balances both the consumers and producers' interest. Currently, it has been a sledgehammer strategy to keep prices low at all costs through export bans and restrictions on these items like wheat, sugar, onion, rice, and stock limit. Privileging consumers over producers may be politically expedient too, as the farmers generally outnumber the latter. लेकिन strategy की अगर हम बात करें तो it can put a backfire when farm vote matters. So I've been trading below minimum support price amidst all-time high vegetable oil imports could be well as an issue. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि रादर कि हम बिल्कुल ही इसका क्रिटिकल नोट लेके चलें. The government is having a very balanced approach instead of saying it is a nuanced approach to balance the consumers and the producer interest, because when we say that WTO is challenging India's interest at the time on the pretext that India is giving a lot of subsidies to farmers, so we cannot deny that farmers are neglected by the government. Obviously, we have to take the interest of the consumers also, and obviously which we take through Consumer Protection Acts and by management, the management and rationalization of the interest of these two stakeholders.
सो यहाँ पे हम स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन कर सकते हैं कि कंज्यूमर के लिए और प्रोड्यूसर के लिए क्या स्टेप्स लिए गए हैं सो एज टू सेफगार्ड देयर इंटरेस्ट. तो प्रोड्यूसर्स क्या कौन है? फार्मर्स आर द प्रोड्यूसर्स. सो फार्मर्स के इंटरेस्ट को सेफगार्ड करने के लिए एज फार एज द वॉलेटिलिटी इन द प्राइसेस इज कंसर्न, फर्स्टली वी आर हैविंग द एमएसपी. इसके अलावा गवर्नमेंट हैज आल्सो इशूड सर्टेन गाइडलाइंस एंड मेजर्स कि आप होर्डिंग नहीं कर सकते हो. होर्डिंग की जो लिमिट्स है दे हैव बीन रिवाइज्ड सो दैट अगेन होर्ड करके जो सप्लाई है मार्केट में वो कम ना हो. इसके अलावा प्रोड्यूसर इंटरेस्ट के लिए गवर्नमेंट आल्सो इंश्योर्स ओपन मार्केट ऑपरेशंस किए जाते हैं थ्रू द surplus or the buffer stock that we have which is maintained by FCI. इसके अलावा consumer interest को safeguard करने के लिए when we talk to for that government is again ensuring कि again prices market में कम हो सके. उसके लिए again impact of open market operations वो consumer के favor में भी है, and banning the exports, and if there's a need for importing also so that prices comfortable territory में रहे. So these are some of the measures so as to safeguard the interest of the consumers also. So ये कुछ measures जो government ने specifically लिए हैं.
Okay. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है जहाँ तक आपने होर्डिंग की बात करी तो फार्मर्स में भी एक कैटेगराइजेशन गवर्नमेंट को बनानी चाहिए कि एक्चुअल में आप फार्मर्स किन को कहते हैं. बिकॉज अगर हम रियल में देखें तो ये होर्डिंग की जो प्रॉब्लम है, फार्मर्स आर नॉट एबल टू डू दिस होर्डिंग. द रीजन बीइंग उनके पास उगाने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, तो होर्डिंग के लिए लॉजिस्टिक क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा, उसके लिए पैसा कहाँ से लाएंगे, नंबर वन.
हाँ, तो ये नहीं बोल रहे फार्मर्स आर होर्डिंग इट. मार्केट
आपने
आल्सो होर्ड ना, मार्केट प्लेयर्स भी तो होर्डिंग करते हैं.
दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग कि कार्टेलाइजेशन और जो होर्डिंग मार्केट प्लेयर्स स्पेशली जो होलसेलर्स हैं हमारे, उनके ऊपर जो कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट है उसकी अच्छे से मतलब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होना चाहिए ताकि ये चीजें ना हो. और इसी के साथ साथ जो कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो क्वालिटी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया के जितने भी स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं उनको भी मतलब हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि वो जो हमारा फार्म से प्रोडक्ट आता है वो उसको मीट करें, और सैनिटरी एंड फाइटो सैनिटरी जो मेजर्स हैं उनके तहत, ताकि जो कंज्यूमर्स की जो हमारे फूड प्रोडक्ट की जो अपीलिंग पावर है वो भी कंज्यूमर्स को अट्रैक्ट करे और जो फूड प्रोडक्ट है उसके रेट बढ़े और कहीं ना कहीं फार्मर्स को इससे बेनिफिट होगा.
Yes.
So sport is meant to unite people. Anything else reduces it to politics or business. Obviously, sports is not played to win or to lose. Sports is win to participate, to activate our guts, to activate our passion, to achieve the commonhood, the fraternity, the feeling of jointness with our partners, and that is the whole meaning of sports. But today, as the author is suggesting that it is getting reduced to the politics or the business. If we talk about China, if we talk about other countries who, like in the earlier sports competition which was just happened, so China was not. I think one country was not sending their players, and whenever there is a match between Pakistan and India, that leads not to the sports feeling, that leads to the feeling of hatred and competition, the stiff competition from both the sides. So I think we need to understand the real meaning of the sports to realize its potential and to reap its benefits. So we can move, and so yeah, we can take this.
This is a repeated topic, Pravesh. Which one? This one? The quiet revenue.
Maldives.
Okay. Maldives said not to take it.
Yeah. So it is in Maldives' interest to not take India for granted. So the author is a former High Commissioner for Maldives. So obviously he would have a better stance on this topic. So Maldives has an area of 90,000 square kilometer that encompasses 99.6% of the sea. The remaining land is distributed over 1,200 islands. And Maldives will cease to exist by 2050 due to global boiling, and that is a result of climate change led by global warming. इंडिया जो है इसके क्लोजेस्ट डिस्टेंस पर है, इसका नेबर माना जाता है. And Maldives with 98% literacy is a nation of contradiction and pose challenges to democratic governance. Its constitutions bar anyone known to become a Maldivian citizen. Patronage tradition in the society, drugs abuse है, distorted labor markets है, growing inequality है, external factors पे dependent है. इंडिया के लिए मालदीव्स जितना अच्छा है उतना ही मालदीव्स के लिए इंडिया भी अच्छा है, ये उधर कहने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. क्योंकि इवन ड्यूरिंग द ब्रिटिश प्रोटेक्टोरेट मालदीव्स डिपेंडेड ऑन इंडिया फॉर एसेंशियल्स communication from outside the world. State Bank of India, which is the largest lender of India, was a major financer at that particular point of time for boosting their tourist economy. So this is a good example. India provided a helping hand in clearing out their internal developments by providing infrastructure facilities. हमने देखा गया है कि इंडिया ने मालदीव्स को हेलीकॉप्टर्स एंड इस तरीके की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग जॉइंट एक्सरसाइजेस में भी बहुत हेल्प की है, सिक्योरिटी असिस्टेंस देने में भी, एंड कोशिश की है कि एक फ्रेंडशिप ट्रस्ट के बिहाफ पे क्रिएट हो सके. इंडियन टीचर्स एंड डॉक्टर्स हैव प्लेड अ क्रिटिकल रोल इन द कंट्री इन द रिमोट इनहैबिटेड आइलैंड्स. जितने भी फास्ट मूविंग गुड्स कंज्यूमर गुड्स हैं वो भी हम प्रोवाइड करते हैं. पायरेसी, टेररिज्म, ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग, नारकोटिक्स is the first line of defense which Maldives is having. On the other hand, China is entirely solely to advance its own interest. Debt traps हम देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह से चाइना की जो पॉलिसी है BRI की एंड जो लोन देने की है वो किस तरीके से डेप्ट प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रही है मल्टीपल कंट्रीज में. अगर हम पाकिस्तान की बात करें, श्रीलंका की बात करें और अब मालदीव्स की भी बात हम कर रहे हैं इसी लाइन पर, तो इंडिया इज स्टेडफास्ट इन इट्स कमिटमेंट टुवर्ड मालदीव, और हम हमेशा दोनों के जो रिलेशन है उनको इंप्रूव करने की बात करते रहे हैं. इन 2012 GMR आउट कैंपेन पोस्ट मालदीव 270 million in payout to GMR, and the Yamin years were married by pro-China policy that led Maldives into a deep crisis. But the irony is, ये हम तो समझ रहे हैं लेकिन मालदीव समझे तो कुछ हो सकता है. The president designate Mohammad Mizu is a Western educated engineer who served as a minister as well as. So elections are fought on emotions and promises. Well, obviously ये तो इंडिया में भी देखने को मिलता है. Once practical realities come to the fore in governance, he may realize the potential repercussions of fundamental relations with India. So again, we have to wait and watch what actions Maldives takes, और उसका क्या उसके ऊपर उसके फॉरेन रिलेशंस के ऊपर इंडिया के साथ प्रभाव देखने को मिलेगा. That is a time testing thing. So we can talk about this law on abortion, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, which allows pregnancy in 3 stages. Number 1, the termination of pregnancy up to 20 weeks on the advice of one doctor. Pregnancy, second condition is 24 weeks, and 2 medical practitioners will give their advice. And under this, we have a clause called Section 3B, which lists 7 categories of the forced pregnancies, including statutory rape in the case of minors, sexual assault, women with disabilities, and when there is a change in the marital status of women during pregnancy. But this was my concern, that along with these provisions under this clause Section 3B, there is one more clause should be added, that is the premarital affairs, which leads to the pregnancy, their abortion conditions should also be incorporated in this particular clause so as to have a broader overview of the society and its implications. And after 24 weeks, a medical board must be set up in the approved facilities which may allow or deny termination on the substantial fetal abnormality. तो अगर हम देखें तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स abortion allow किया on various stands. What about the rights of unborn child? So the observation on Friday by the CGI oscillated between the rights of women must trump when it comes to abortion and need to balance out the rights of the unborn too. There is no doubt that our law is far ahead of other countries. While courts have read this act, the test of fetal viability as benchmark to allow abortion is new in India. Fetal viability in 1973 was pegged at 28 weeks, which means 7 months. But today what we are talking is 26 months, which is now with scientific advancement leads to more months. The criticism of India's laws is that the decision to terminate is shifted to doctors, not the woman. But I think obviously this should be given to the doctors, not to the woman, because they have their scientific expertise and functional specialization in that regard, and they will not give a generalized statement in this matter. While this aspect is not challenged in the court, frequent cases of women approaching the court in the 11th hour point and is a legislative gap. The Indian legal framework on reproductive rights tilts the side of women's autonomy to decide and choose more than towards the right of unborn child. 2005 में राजस्थान हाई कोर्ट में नंद किशोर शर्मा वर्सेस यूनियन का जो केस था, that also rejected a challenge to the constitutional validity of the set on the grounds that it violates the fundamental rights of life of an unborn child. I think those people who are so much concerned about the rights of the unborn child, why they don't give the solutions which are viable, which are practical, and which are feasible? आपके पास solution क्या है? It is not that Supreme Court judges are mad and Supreme Court judges deliberately doing this. They are thinking and they are taking the matter in a very comprehensive manner, and because of that, they know that if the abortion will be prohibited and the baby will be allowed to get, baby will be allowed to born, that will be having societal blunders, that will be having societal, I will say, identity challenges for that woman. Family be involved hogi, ladies be involved hogi, uske relations be involved honge, and that will lead to a lot of problems and again increase the cases in the courts. So Mansi, if you have any,
I would just say कि जो यहाँ पे petitioners का concern है कि it would violate the fundamental rights of life of an unborn child. So in a way, they are hinting towards कि we need to move towards a law which is basically not giving the right to abortion to a woman. So obviously that would be a sign of, I would say, primitive and a feudal society if we move back to that kind of situation. Obviously वो नहीं होगा possible आने वाले time में भी. So this is one thing which they are hinting towards, but definitely it is important to balance the rights of both. And that is what even this Law Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act is trying to do.
तो आपका क्या कहना है?
So मेरा कहना यही है कि जो हमारे पास law है, obviously we need to respect that, we need to follow that, and we can't move towards having no right to abortion for the women. So that would be very feudalistic, and that would be like very, I would say, shrewd and very harsh kind of a situation.
Yeah, and obviously challenging this law on the basis that women should be given the chance and not the doctors, that is again very,
Yes.
I think, naive statement. So hostages taking as terror tactics, but I think this is not that important.
Okay, Pravesh, we are done.
We have this much in today's newspaper. Thank you so much, and stay with us. Keep watching. Thank you.